What if the world's most powerful empires were never built on armies or kings, but on control of money itself? Every dynasty, every nation, every ruler rose and fell not by war, but by the currency they commanded. And now, a new kind of money has appeared, one no empire can truly control. Bitcoin, the empire of code. For thousands of years, money was the invisible weapon of empires. It shaped wars, funded revolutions, and enslaved nations through debt. But today, a digital rebellion is quietly unfolding. Governments call it dangerous, banks call it chaos, and yet, millions call it freedom. To understand why governments fear Bitcoin, we must go back to where the story of money began. Long before Bitcoin, before banks, before dollars, there was trust. Barter gave way to coins, and coins gave birth to kings. In ancient Mesopotamia, merchants traded silver as the first universal measure of value. Gold followed, rare, incorruptible, eternal. It became the heartbeat of early empires: Egypt, Persia, Rome. Rome's strength didn't just come from its legions. It came from its money, the denarius. Stamped with Caesar's face, it carried his power into every province. But power invites temptation. When emperors needed more, they diluted the silver. Each coin became worth less than before. Sound familiar? It was the first inflation crisis in history, and it destroyed Rome from within. Empires don't collapse when the money ends. They collapse when people stop believing in it. Centuries later, new empires rose. Spain, Britain, America. Each controlled the world not through swords, but through systems of finance. Spain plundered silver from the New World, turning mountains into coins and ultimately wealth into ruin. Britain mastered banking, turning paper promises into global power. Then came America, the modern Rome. After World War II, one currency ruled them all: the US dollar. It was backed by gold until 1971, when President Nixon ended that tie. From that moment, money became imagination, printed, borrowed, inflated, endlessly. And so began the empire of paper. Every empire eventually finds the same weapon, the printing press. When money loses its anchor, power grows desperate. Governments promise prosperity, banks promise safety, but debt replaces gold, and illusion replaces trust. Then came 2008. The global financial system, the heart of the empire, collapsed under its own greed. People lost homes, banks were saved, and from the ashes, an idea was born. A name appeared online: Satoshi Nakamoto. And with it, a message was carved into code. The Times, 3 Jan 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. Bitcoin was born not as money for profit, but as money for freedom. Every empire fears the one thing it can't control: a currency without a king. Bitcoin wasn't just a coin, it was a declaration. That trust could exist without rulers. That value could move without permission. For the first time in history, money wasn't forged by emperors or bankers, but by mathematics. No borders, no inflation decree, no central throne, just code. Transparent, incorruptible, eternal. And yet the more it grows, the more it's feared. Governments call it a threat to stability. Banks call it a tool for criminals. But deep down, they all know the truth. Bitcoin exposes the illusion. Because if people can choose their own money, they can choose their own masters. Rome debased silver. Britain printed pounds. America prints dollars. Every empire believed it was different. Every empire thought it could print forever. But history doesn't forget. It just changes form. Today's battlefield isn't fought with armies. It's fought with algorithms, interest rates, and belief. Bitcoin isn't just a currency. It's a mirror, showing every empire the truth they refuse to see. That power built on debt cannot last forever. Empires once controlled gold. Now they fear code. The story of money is the story of control. Every empire, every government, every bank has tried to own it. But what happens when money becomes something they can't touch? Something that belongs to everyone and no one? That's what keeps them awake at night. Because Bitcoin isn't just technology. It's the return of something ancient, trust without rulers, freedom without permission, and perhaps the beginning of a new empire, not of men, but of code. Every empire believes it will never fall, but history has never agreed. If this story made you think, consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon. There's a lot more to uncover. Thanks for watching.